tonight. Happy to have her. The real $1 Million Baby, Maureen Shea, born and raised in the Bronx. Maureen is a former IFBA Junior Featherweight World Champion and former WBC Featherweight World Champion. She's a world-ranked professional boxer who's fought numerous times on national and international television under such distinguished promoters as Top Rank, DeBell Entertainment, and Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions. Maureen Shea's current professional boxing record stands at 27-2 with 12 wins coming by way of knockout. Welcome, Maureen. What's going on?
Nothing much. I'm out here in hot, humid Florida, but I heard you guys got some rain over there.
Yeah, it's been crazy lately. So
at least it's not snow, right?
That's true.
You guys got sun. Finally, you have sun.
So let's talk about, obviously you have an amazing story, and you know I like to start in the Bronx, like growing up and what that was like for you. If we could start there, that'd be great.
Growing up in the Bronx, I have such great memories. I love neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so grateful being raised in the Bronx because of the neighborhood. You know, they're sitting on the stoops, hanging out on the street corners. I look at kids nowadays and I'm like, man, they have no idea how great we had it. Even kids, like when I moved to California, the neighborhoods are different. So we come from a very special neighborhood. You know, the Bronx overall. Everybody knows everybody. You know, whose mother is screaming at you, acting like she's your mother, or whose father's yelling at you, acting like he's your father, because everybody loves each other. So I loved growing up in the Bronx. I have such great memories. You know, a lot of my struggle started. You know, I went through a lot out there, and just finding myself and trying to figure out, you know, what was right and what was wrong, doing things I shouldn't have been doing, hanging out on the street corners, doing drugs, drinking, hiding from the police, you know, all that good stuff that we went through. And, you know, getting kicked out of high school. I went to Preston High School. I got kicked out my junior year, and there was really no legitimate reason for me to get kicked out. They found a way to kick me out. I think it was because I was just a leader. And they nominated me student of the month the year I got kicked out, which doesn't really make sense to me. But it's okay. It was like the best thing that ever happened to me, because what was funny was everybody in my class said that they all wanted to get out of Preston and go to Lehman. I'm the only one that didn't want to leave Preston. I didn't want to go to Lehman. And guess who ended up going to Lehman? Me. But it was great. It was a great experience, you know, graduating from Lehman High School. And I was actually, ironically, I got to go to Preston's prom because I happened to be at a wedding that was upstairs. And the prom was downstairs, so I actually got to go to the prom of the school I got kicked out of.
Funny. That's funny.
Which is, you know, that's ironic, but that was cool. But you know, like I said, a lot of things growing up, doing things I shouldn't have been doing drugs. I got involved in selling drugs, going upstate. My parents were like, it's funny when I tell the story because I almost feel like it's not me. But
how old are we talking about, just to get an idea?
Well, shoot, doing drugs. I started doing drugs when I was 13. I was young. I was smoking cigarettes at 12. I mean, I had a lot of emotional issues growing up. I had a lot of anger, a lot of just misplaced rage, which is why I box now. I've learned how to you know, focus into something positive.
So you hear about like Tiger Woods started hitting the ball when he was 2, and like Steph Curry was dribbling when he was a kid. Were you like beating little kids up in the crib at 2? Were you a prodigy, or a kid?
No, I was. Oh my God, no,
Back in
not
their
at
head.
all. You know something? I was not that at all. Believe it or not, I had more like I mean, this is crazy, but I had more self-inflicting pain. I was slamming my head against the wall. I was angry. I was hitting myself.
At what?
It's just like,
can you think back now what the anger was what it was from?
I think it was just being different, feeling disconnected. My cousins were really smart. I was a Shea, and people that knew my cousins were like honor students, like straight A students, and I was like the black sheep of the family. My brother was 10 years older than me, and he was like, you know, graduated magna cum laude from college, from St. John's University, and I was like the one that hung out in the street, and I was like I was the black sheep. And you know, my father was really strict. My dad's a retired detective, NYPD, and he was really, really strict with me. And I was just not the kid you could tell what to do. They always said, you march to the beat of your own drummer, and I always did, and I still do. You know, if people ask me like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I do something called whatever the bleep I want. It's true. I really do, you know? And that's how I've really formed my life now, but obviously making right decisions. But back then, I think a lot of the anger and the rage came from like not understanding my emotions. And I do have a chemical imbalance. I do suffer from depression, and I have ADHD that I didn't know back then. And so I think the confusion of understanding why I was feeling what I was feeling led me to kind of self-medicate. And also, just being told that I was the bad kid. So I was like, well, if I'm the bad kid, I might as well go do some bad shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
what?
it's funny. There's a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it says how you can give someone a reputation to live up to. So I try to do that with my kids. Like, you're good, you're great, you're a trust, and then they want you. So you were here. It was working in reverse for you. You were living up to a reputation.
100%.
Is that crazy?
Exactly.
Yeah,
But I was competitive. But I was always really competitive. But I was competing in the wrong things. Like, if we were smoking pot and we were in a cipher and there was like 5 guys, I was the only girl. I was not leaving that cipher until we were done. I was competitive. I was like, I'm going to finish this. And I mean, that's terrible. But I mean, I can talk about it now because it's the truth. It's my that's authentic. That's who I was, and so it was that, and then hanging out with people that and not even hanging out with people, because I had some amazing friends that I'm still friends with to this day, and we have some crazy memories when we think back. Thank God most of us made it out of those days, where a lot of us could have died. I mean, some of us, some did pass, from overdoses and stuff, and it was terrible. But a lot of us that we can talk about it now, I mean, are doing well. Thank God, knock on wood, their families and everything, and me too, But it was dangerous. But we all kind of went through that together. It was like a war that we were all in together. And then to see the ones that get out and make it and survive, it's great. I mean, not to say the Bronx was that bad. I mean,
right.
It was great, but it was, there was that kind of a life that I chose to live. And then my mom sent me upstate, and I remember I'd go, so, we'd all hang out on the street, and then my mom was like, I don't want you down here anymore. And me and my dad were fighting like it was
You were
horrible.
like Will Smith. You were making sure,
Yeah.
right? They sent you to Beverly Hills.
It's a little something like that. You know what, though? It's funny because the truth is that when I went upstate, I went to my girlfriend Jenny's house, and my friend Tina and Tara were with us, and they could tell you this, so I swear to this. And we would go up, and there were house parties, and I'm like, these people have money. So I had a guy down in the Bronx that I would buy from. So I would get drugs from him, and I'd bring them upstate. And I'm like, I can sell drugs up here. These people have money. And it was, I mean, I shouldn't brag about it, but that was my logic. That was my thinking back then.
But you know what's funny? I hear that a lot. I speak to parents, how they say they moved their kid like up north to get away from it, and it ended up being worse. You know what I mean? I feel like the temptation's here, but if the kids here learn how to deal with it and not have to dive like totally. I mean, of course, a couple of kids, like you said, are gonna go too far. Yeah. But I don't think it's any better. Like if you move upstate to a richer neighborhood, they have more money, like you said, to do more expensive stuff, right?
Exactly. That's what it was. And I mean, it was like it was the freedom, because they had house parties, because they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah, we were hanging out outside. They're not. Yeah, it's right. So what is in the house? What are you gonna do?
Totally different upbringing. Like when I would go into schools and speak in California or anywhere that's not the Bronx, and I would share I'm like, you guys live next to each other. We lived on top of each other. I'm like, it's a big difference, Yeah. But you know what? But there was a closeness in the Bronx, and there was a just a survival for all of us, to help each other. And like I said, people's families looking out for the other one, and that was important, And like even you saying today, you met somebody that you're work, what you're doing, and then they know me, and and I talk to people that know you guys, and it's nice because it's like a family feel.
I had somebody on. He's got a restaurant, my friend Giorgio, and he was saying how when he hung out in Morris Park, he would hang out at Loretta Park, and they felt so safe there. You knew everybody. And now with our kids, it's weird. Like they're at Wilkinson Park, I got to rush to pick them up because you're scared for them to be there. It's not the same dynamic. I would be out in Waterbury Park. I'd sleep there at night, and we were safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What changed?
Exactly.
Is parenting that changed? Like I'm trying to think. Like what changed? Maybe we're scared to let them be out there. I don't know.
Because you're more aware.
Yeah.
But the world is different now. I mean, especially with social media and the news, like you're able to see more of the bad stuff going on. Yeah. I think there was still bad stuff going on when we were younger, but it wasn't as visual as it is now, and as accessible. That's
probably what it is. Yep.
I think that's a big part of it. But I mean, you got to, at the end of the day, you got to kind of leave it in God's hands, But because it's like, well, there's only so much you can do, because you don't want to like keep your kid like this.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I said. Like I tell my mother would always shake her head like, oh, like she screwed up. Or my dad would tell me like he screwed up. I'm like, I don't think I turned out that bad. I'm a 2-time world champion and I'm a motivational speaker. Like, really? But I'm like, but the reason that I'm successful is because I recognize the things that I did. I owned my shit. You know what I mean? I'm like, listen, I did this and this. And now I know that that's not the right way to, I did it. I can let it go and move on from it, And the same thing with, I was in an abusive relationship. I'm a domestic violence survivor, and I met him hanging out in the Bronx. He was from the Bronx, and he was my best friend for a year. I was a junior. I met him when I was a junior in high school, and then we started dating when I was in Lehman, when I was a senior, and he pursued me, and I didn't want to go out with him. I wouldn't even let him put his hand on my leg when we were hanging out, because I was like, "You have a bad reputation. I know your type." And then he got me, And I don't believe that he was a narcissist or like some kind of psycho. I think that he was sick, and I think that he definitely did things like he was on steroids and doing drugs, and I think those stuff influenced him to become volatile, become abusive. Not that it's right, and not that it's an excuse and it's okay, but it happened, and he almost killed me, and because of these rages that he would have, and I by no means did I encourage that. You know what I mean? I for a long time I would think like, oh well, it's because I did this or because I did that. I said, what? There's no excuse to ever put a hand on a female, and we would argue, we would fight, but when it got to that point, it was serious. And I was in that relationship for like 4 years. And so that's what I said in the beginning of this when I was talking about my growth and things that I went through between doing drugs and then not doing drugs. And then I was always fighting with what I wanted to be, but who I thought I was. It was a self-esteem struggle where because I thought I was that bad kid, I just had to be bad. And that's probably why I stayed in the relationship with this individual for so long. Because number one, I thought I loved him. And I also thought that's what I deserved because I had the self-esteem struggle. And, I had to go through a lot of therapy to figure out what the deal was. Was I perfect? By no means. But I definitely didn't deserve that, So getting out of that, but that's what led me to boxing. So, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm grateful to him, for that. But
No, but everything that happened led you to where you are now. It was the growth, but you're not grateful, but you grew from it, right?
Exactly. I recognized it, and I it's what I did from bad situations. And some of the bad situations, I take ownership of putting myself in that bad situation because the truth is, the first time that he put his hands on me, I should have gotten out of the relationship, and I didn't, because it's not easy. And I understand the mind of an abused woman because it's literally like an addiction. Like you believe that they are the person that they were before, but they're not. They're.
So when you've been quoted as saying boxing literally saved your life, is that what you meant, or did you mean it in a different way? Did you mean
No,
from that, or just from all the stuff, from the drugs and from
everything.
the negativity? It just brought you to the
Everything.
so tell me what that moment's first like, and how does it come into your life?
I think for me, I remember when I went to the gym, I developed anorexia, which I actually just posted about today. I had body dysmorphia, anorexia. I just had a lot of issues because I thought I had low self-esteem. I thought I was fat and ugly, and that's why he hit me, and I wasn't deserving. And if I looked better, he would be better to me, and he would want me, and I'd be more desirable. So I went to the gym to better myself. I was going to Omni Health and Fitness, and I was working out like a lunatic, eating like maybe 600 calories a day. Went down to 110 pounds, lost my gallbladder, and I was like 11 or 10% body fat. And then I walked into the back of the gym, and there was a boxing ring. And I remember I was like, man, I want to try this, because remember, I still had those emotions, the anger, the displaced rage, but to myself. It wasn't outward to anybody. I mean, I got into fights growing up. I got into a couple fights, but because I was always, our neighborhood's all about respect.
I think growing up in the Bronx, you have to get into it.
Yeah, it's like, and if you don't, because
Yeah. People are gonna test you. Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna come after you, so you better stand your ground. And that's how. And so I did, and I didn't care. I was like, whatever. I would never hit first. I never went after anybody. I never bullied anybody. I never, But they came after me. Actually, Christina can tell you. Christina bullied me. Christina Costanz.
That's funny.
I love her. She's my best friend. But she was going through her stuff. But we got into it, and I got beat up outside of school, But I mean, but it's moments like that now we look back and we laugh, and we used to give each other black eyes. We used to punch each other in the face. But, but it's funny because just going through all of that and then going into the gym, it was like everything that I'd been through, I just needed healing. And God brought me to the gym. God gave me boxing. And I was just like, I'm going to try this. And it was like the farthest thing from my mind because I didn't grow up in the sport. I was watching fights at a friend's house and upstate when I was upstate. And Mike Tyson, who was fighting Holyfield in the living room, it was on TV in the living room. His father was watching it with his friends, and everybody started yelling. So we get up and we go into the living room, and there's Tyson biting Holyfield's ear, and I was like in awe. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm like, this is boxing? I'm like, first of all, I fell in love with Mike Tyson because I understood the anger. Not that he bit Holy, but the anger that he felt and the emotion, the rage that he felt. I felt that inside for myself. So I always had that. So when I went to the gym and I was able to hit something, I was like, wow, like I could release this.
I think that's so interesting that when you saw that moment, that's how it reflects. Like from that moment was totally different for me. I was like, he can't win, so now he's just doing that because he knows. But you saw it differently. You know what I mean?
I didn't identify with why he did it. I identified with his feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, because I understood his rage. I understood his anger. I understood his pain. And if you know, well, you know, you've seen Mike Tyson now, and you've heard he was a very scared person and very angry and he was emotionally a wreck. And
I think when he lost the first manager, everything changed, right? What was that guy? The guy who he lived in the cat. Yeah, right.
And boxing's an unforgiving business. Boxing is, listen, I was telling somebody the other day, I'm like, I don't know. I've seen things in this sport and witnessed things I wish I didn't know or I didn't see, but I know that I'm still in it because I know that I can help the people that are in it. You know, I've been in it for 20 years. That trips me out. 20 years. I've been competing since I was 21 years old. You know what I mean? So that's 17 years I've been competing. And, you know, professionally for 15. But it's like, I've just seen everything. And when I told my mom, I'm like, I've been doing this for 20 years. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, actually, yeah, 18. I would say 18 to now. And that's how long I've been in it. And that's when I walked into that gym. I was 17, 18 years old.
That's great. That's what this show's all about. People like you, just like if anyone's all in, it's you, right? Like you're.
Oh my God!
And you've been all in for a while.
I wanted to quit so many times, and I think that's what people need to understand. Like, just because you're in it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean it's because I know sometimes people look at my life and they're like, "Oh," I'm like, listen. I mean, I'm not a complainer. Boxing is unforgiving. You can't in that ring. You can't be like, "Oh, time out. Oh, that hurt. Oh, that's illegal." Like. It's different, you know what I mean? So
right, yeah.
applying that to life and just correlating it to life. It's like, you know, I come out here. It's funny because I see some people and I'm hard, you know, like boxing. Life has hardened me a bit, and so is boxing, but not in a negative way, in a positive way. And now when I'm like out and I see somebody complaining about something, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, do you even know what it feels like to fight in Madison? I sound like an old person. I'm like, oh my God. I've become that person, you know, like just to like going back and reminiscing about things that I've been through that I had to overcome in the ring.
So you think, it changed you as a person. It made you a totally different person. The whole like the training and just looking at things and putting.
I wouldn't say it made me a different person. I would say that it definitely sharpened the qualities that I had, the strengths. I've always been very mentally strong. But it was mentally strong. Like I said, I was competitive doing drugs. Like, you know what I mean? It's flipped it to do it towards something more positive.
Yes.
So I think that was what it did for me. It took me, listen, I started eating again when I was anorexic because I wanted to box. So in order for me to box and perform well, I had to eat food. So how could you say that didn't save my life? You know what I mean? Like that's a lifesaver right there. It got me out of the abusive relationship. I mean, it didn't physically get me out of it, but it gave me it sharpened the tools that I already had to show like you can do this. You're strong enough. You're physically strong enough.
It built your confidence. It built your confidence in yourself, right? You said you had, obviously, right?
But it breaks you down before it builds you up. That's the thing.
What do you mean?
Boxing will break you down.
In what way? Like, what do you mean?
Because first of all, you walk in the gym, you feel like an idiot, and you don't know what you're doing, and you're gonna fail and fail and fail. But the fact that you keep trying and you don't give up. Listen, I had a sparring session, my first sparring session with a girl. I remember they set it up and this girl was skinny and she was small. And I'm like, I can take this. Like I was boxing for like 4 months and I thought I knew everything. I knew 1-2 hook, slip. That's all I knew. And I'm like, oh, I got this because she was small. So I went in and we sparred like one round and she hit me. And I don't know if it was the first round or the second round. She threw a left hook at my jaw. And I was like, stop. I stopped the sparring because I was like, no, I thought I broke my jaw. And I was like, I'm done. I'm good. And I quit. And I went home and I was so mad at myself. And I cry when I'm frustrated. So I was crying out of frustration. And I was like, No, like I let, first of all, my pride, I mean, I'm from the Bronx, I'm Mexican and Irish. I'm like, I freaking let this girl, the skinny little nothing, get the best of me in front of people. I'm like, no, no, no. So I went back to the gym the next day. It was a Saturday, and I just worked out. I stayed. So everybody gets tested. So it broke me down before it got to build me up, if that makes sense.
Of
Does
course.
it make sense now?
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? I read a lot of books about, and I try to get better at. I do sales. I try to get better at whatever, and about your why, right? What's your why in life?
Oh yeah.
What, right? So I remember I was boxing. I was boxing with Honey Boy in Morris Park Gym.
Oh yeah.
I'm sparring, and I go and I get out of the ring, and I fought this dude, and like I felt like my teeth were a little loose. I get out, and he looks at me. He goes, "Why are you doing this?" And I remember that day, and I was like, I'm just trying to like it didn't mean anything to me. I was just there like to get in shape and maybe just do it just for fun because my friends were just to do it. And he was like, but if this doesn't mean anything to you, why are you bothered? You're gonna break your nose, you're gonna get
Yeah.
messed. And he
What's
kind
it
of
worth
talked,
it?
yeah, I was like, you're right, bro. I'm gonna go play basketball. And I just stopped that day because I didn't have that. I didn't want it. You know what I mean? You
And that,
obviously when that moment came, you wanted it, right?
well, you know what it was? They said, you know, when my why in that moment, when it said why, I need it. I need it. I didn't even know why I needed it, but I needed it. It was something inside of me that said, you need this. Now, I don't need it. I do it because I want it. It's different. You know what I'm saying? Like needing and wanting are two different things.
But what do you think
Needing,
your why is now? Like, has your why changed, or it's still like you know what I mean? What is your why?
I'm not I used to be codependent on boxing. Boxing was my God. I mean, I believe in God and I always believed in God, but I put boxing before God. And then when I had surgery on my hand, I was told I'd never box again. And that was when that's when I think that I turned to God. And I kind of was like, wow, boxing, because I said to myself, who am I? Like, who am I without boxing? That's what I said to myself. I remember saying to my mom, and I'm like, whoa, that's a really strong question to ask yourself. Like, I'm a lot of other things, but I couldn't see past that. You know what I mean? Because boxing was like my God. And I prayed about it. And I just prayed and I was like, if this is meant for me to do, I'll do it again. And I had to have a lot of patience. And I went out and I did service. And that's when I started speaking at schools and I started doing a lot of charity work because I was like, you know what? I'm like, there's got to be Jeremiah 29:11 is my life verse. And that's I have a plan for you, says the Lord, and I know that he had a plan for me. And sometimes we know what it is, sometimes we don't know what it is. And in that moment, I thought it was taken from me. And I was like, okay, now what? And I had to be patient. And then all of a sudden, literally, things started opening up. I mean, I was always a speaker, but I really took my speaking way more to the next level. I mean, I did a run with I did like 15 schools in like 2 weeks.
Well, what are
You
you
know,
speaking on your past experiences in
I
life?
was, yeah,
Is it
motivational
drugs
speaking.
and stuff and then, like
Yeah.
stuff like that?
Yeah, I said I felt that what I needed to do was go out into the community that I was living in California, and I needed to share my story with the youth, and I needed to connect with the youth and help them find inspiration and understanding and help them with their struggles, their emotional struggles. I was kind of like I needed to give back to that kid that I was when I was a kid that I didn't have.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
And
love
it was
that.
a blessing, but it was all because I got an injury and boxing was taken from me. But I got it back. So I guess I'm still supposed to do this.
That's great. So, and obviously your motivation is not money, right? Because I
No.
remember hanging out with pro fighters when they were like 9-0 and they were struggling. Like, so you don't really, so just to let the people listening know, till you get that big fight, right? You're not really like, you're a
No,
pro
I don't
fighter.
box for the
I
money.
know you could be struggling, right? Financially, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I
And
did,
it's
but
probably harder for a woman too, right? Not to cut you off, but right?
oh yeah.
I'm sure
Oh
the
yeah. We don't.
not much, right?
We're not in the millions. I mean, it's there. It can be there, but I think for me, it's more like because people see my lifestyle, but they don't understand. Like I work. You know what I mean? Like I have two businesses. I have a collagen business, and I have my motivational speaking business. I also work part time with my brother who has a welding business. I have an investor, and I do have sponsors, and I do have other things that I'm working on. I do endorse products and
You should
things like
start.
that. So
You got to start investing in some real estate. I got you.
something I do. I really do. Well,
Yeah,
shoot.
we're gonna
I'm
talk.
hoping we have my house in the Bronx still. We rent it out, and I'm hoping to never have to sell that.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
want it.
Why?
I
That's
want
an
it.
income maker for you, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, right now for my parents, obviously, but that's gonna end up being mine and my brother's. My brother's not gonna want anything to do. He'd sell it. My brother doesn't have that. I'm like, oh no, that's grandpa's house. Like and I
Like,
never met my grandfather, so I'm very like my heart. Oh, Sorry, I lost you for a
Where,
minute.
where's the house by St. Benedict, like on that Frogs
It's
Neck?
still there, yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if I took a picture of you. I don't know what I just pressed. Yeah, it's in Frogs Neck. It's on the corner of Hollywood Notice.
And just so you know, right now the market's insane in our area. It's a really hot area. People are paying a lot. It's probably worth the most it's been in a long time.
I'm sure it is, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get you to sell it. I'm just
I
letting
no
you.
no no. I know. No, I know. And it's so funny. Like we have such good people living there too, and then my godparents live across the street. So I'm sorry, I was texting my. So my best friend is my diet coach too. So she was calling when I was just on with you. I just had to tell her
Was she your best friend before she became your diet coach, or she was your diet coach became your best friend?
No, she was my best friend first.
Oh, okay, cool.
I met her in California, and she yeah, we met. It was kind of funny because she thought I was gonna be a bitch when she first met me because I was like this world champion, and then she's like, oh, she's probably gonna come in here because she trained in the facility I was training at. And she's like,
I don't get that vibe at all. You're so like down to earth. Like I
well,
watch.
she never met me, but
Right.
so she just assumed, and she admits it. We've done podcasts together, and she admits it. And then, but then when she met me, she was like, "But you were so like, hi, I'm Maureen." Like,
Right. Yeah.
and
You're approachable, like to me anyway. From the two times, like not that I've dealt with you over Skype actually, but you just seem very friendly and approachable. I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because it's people that create this idea of me that I've noticed. I think and that was hard for me, like, because I even when after I worked with $1 Million Baby, that was a big like people started being weird to me, and I'm like, wait, I'm not being weird. Why are people treating me different?
That's
like
funny.
I'm still me. I haven't changed, and it's funny because I would tell Christina, I'm like, I haven't changed, have I? Because Christina's known me since I was born, and I'm like, she's like, no, you're exactly the same, and I'm like, okay, because I'm like, am I crazy?
Let's talk about it since you brought it up. So, $1 Million Baby is the Oscar-winning movie with Hilary Swank,
Yeah.
and you trained her for her part in the movie. Is that correct? And if so, how did that come to be?
So I always like to clarify this because she studied me for the character. So I worked with her. She technically trained with my boxing coach at the time, Hector Roca. And I was brought in to spar with her.
Okay.
And so it was funny because I remember meeting her in the office with Bruce Silverglade. I was leaving and I think I was like going there to pay my dues. And she happened to be in the office. Now, this is the thing. You got to understand. When you walk into Gleason's, like everybody there has an ego. Nobody's there. Like we don't care who you are. Like we're boxers. Like if you're coming into our home right now, like you think you're gonna come in here and do what we do. Everybody's super friendly, but if you think you're gonna spar, we're gonna be like, okay, let's see what you got.
It's territorial. Yeah, it's territorial.
Very much so. So when she was there in the office, I mean, I'm very welcoming and I was very nice. And they were like, oh, this is Hilary Swank. I was like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And then they're like, oh, you're probably gonna be working together. And I didn't know. I knew who she was because I knew of Boys Don't Cry and I knew of Karate Kid, but I don't get starstruck. Like I've told people, the only time I ever get starstruck, and it's kind of like funny, but when it comes to chefs, when I meet chefs, because I'm such a foodie, if I meet a chef, I'm just like, oh my god. I met a guy from Top Chef, CJ from Top Chef, and I was just like, I was like literally afraid to go up to him, but not Hilary Swank or Clint Eastwood.
That's funny. Listen, the kid I told you about, he's a chef, DiGiorgio. You got the restaurant in New Rochelle is amazing. Like he was
really?
on Chop. I went there.
My friend Chris is the judge on Chopped.
Really?
Chris Santos. Yeah, Chris is the rocker chef. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah.
And even Chris, I've known Chris for years, and even Chris, I'm still like, oh, Chris, you're a chef. You're amazing.
When you come to the Bronx, we'll set something up. We'll go there.
Sounds good. I got to get over there. But anyway, so Hillary was in the office, and then after that, she traded with Hector, and then Hector put us to spar together. And I really respected her because she would take the train to the gym. She really put herself into the character, and I know she did that with Boys Don't Cry, which is why she won an Oscar for that film. But what really, really hit me was when I read her story about how much money she made when she did Boys Don't Cry. She had no health insurance. She was making like $80 a day, and she freaking won an Oscar, and she was like broke, And
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like wow. But she still, no matter what, she was a big inspiration for me, even in my boxing. Because no matter what, she believed in herself as an actress, and she believed in the roles that she took on. So she gave herself to the role, And obviously she made more money for this one than she did before. But I really believe it was because of the authenticity of wanting to be great. It wasn't really about the money. Because look at what she did in Boys Don't Cry, and she wasn't getting paid crap. So she just proved that it's not about the money. you know? And so I just really admired her for that. And I remember one time I walked in the office and she was like crying. And I asked her, I was like, what's the matter? She's like, I can't get it. She was frustrated. And I laughed because I'm like, oh my God, you're a fighter. Like, I get it. I've been there. Like, she wanted to understand how to get I mean, she had 6 weeks. She had 6 months to do this.
Okay.
That's like, she did really good. Considering for what she had, she did really well. But that's because she committed herself to the part. And it was great to witness. And I mean, I got to experience a whole whirlwind of Hollywood. It was
Did
crazy.
Did you see any of the actual filming, or just the training was there?
No, the filming was done in California, and I was in college. I was at Iona at the time, and I was in school, and I was fighting in the Golden Glove, so I couldn't go out to California for that. But I was a part of red carpet events with her. I went to the premiere. I was sparring with Joan Rivers, like really, you know, like crazy things. I was on Access Hollywood. I was on E! Entertainment. I was in People Magazine.
She was
I
cool.
didn't even know.
She was down to earth. She was cool people.
Oh, Joan Rivers?
No, Hillary, not Joan Rivers.
Oh, Hillary? Oh, yeah, Joan Rivers was too. She was
Joan Rivers is definitely cool.
She was freaking amazing.
She's
like,
hysterical.
God rest her soul. She was like legit.
Yeah.
No, Hillary was great. Hillary was super down to earth. And I said it. I said I didn't see the plasticity of what they say in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, but even Clint Eastwood came up to me. He came up to me. Like, I was like, I remember he walked up behind me and he says, oh, Maureen. And I turned around. I was like, Clint Eastwood.
It's funny. I could see being starstruck with him. He's a big time. You know what I mean? Like, he's.
Well, you know what it is? He has such a presence.
Right. That's what I figured. Yeah. The way he carries himself. Yeah.
Oh my God. And he's a strong, like, and he said, he's like, you're a very good boxer. I was like, I was literally just like, I mean, it wasn't even him. It was his presence.
Right.
Like his energy. And you're just like, wow, you have a, you know, but it was cool. We took a picture together. I mean, and then I saw the premiere, and, you know, leading up to that, she asked me if I wanted to read the script. And I said, no. I said, I don't want to read the script because I want to give you the authentic female boxer. So when I saw the film and I didn't know what happened at the end, I was like, ugh. That's terrible.
That ending killed me too. When I watched it, I was so disturbed with that.
Everybody, when people hear that I worked with her, they're like, "Oh my God, great film!" But that ending was terrible.
I know.
I'm like, listen, I didn't write it, okay?
It's like one of those movies. Every time you watch it, you want something different to happen. It's like Scarface when he shoots Manolo. Every time I watch it, I'm like, why do you gotta do that? the 100th time, the same thing just happened.
I can't even watch it anymore. I saw it at the premiere. I think total in my life, I've seen it 4 times. Like, I can't watch it. Like, I'm too connected to it.
Right.
It's hard to watch it. And
the first time you saw it, did you realize it was that good? You were like, oh, or did you not even realize it because you were part of it? You know what I mean?
No, I was emotional. It caught me. It pulled at my heartstrings. You know, like, I watched some of these boxing movies, and this is terrible. Like, okay, Apollo, you know, I mean, not Apollo, Creed 2. Like, I
just watched that the other day.
Okay, so here's the deal. Like, I'm all about it. It's great. But I went to the movie. So my friend Chris in California, he's like a big time freaking Rocky buff. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, he can recite every movie. So him and his wife were like, Chris was like, you got to come with me to see Creed 2. I was like, all right, fine. So I went with him and his wife. Thank God his wife's sat next to me and he didn't, because I would have ruined the movie for him. Because I was like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. I was like, that wouldn't happen. I'm like, he'd get knocked out. And she was just laughing and he's sitting there and I'm like, I can't help it because I can't enjoy boxing movies. Like, I'm like, all right, like, I have to really separate myself as a boxer from it, because I'm just like, it's almost like something, not that Rocky's great. And Creed 2, I get the whole feel. I think it was really well done for people, and it's really, I mean, Rocky, the first Rockies you can't beat. Now it's
I say it didn't have that same feeling to me. Like, I didn't, like, you know, Rocky 2 when she's like win and you get chills. I didn't feel that.
That's the thing. Like, Rocky, like, I sat there and Rocky to me is still believable. Like, I believe Rocky. Really
I tried to drink the eggs. I spit them out on the rug.
Oh, that's great. Did you want to get turtles named Cuff and Link too?
Hey, you know what I just read? They're still alive. He still has them. They're 44 years later. He still has them. I read that today. I swear to God. Awesome. Is that crazy? Turtles live like 100 years old, from what I heard. He still has.
Turtles live forever.
Yeah, is that crazy?
Oh my God, that's great.
But you know his whole story too, right?
Oh yeah.
When he wrote that script and nobody wanted him to play in it, and he held. And he was broke too, like what you're saying about Hillary. It's the same thing. right?
His story, and I admire Sylvester Stallone for
Me
what he's
too.
done.
Me too. I love that dude. Yeah.
I met his brother in L.A. I forgot his brother's name. He's a musician though.
Frank.
Yeah, Frank. I met Frank in
Yeah.
L.A. Yeah, he wasn't a big fan of female boxing, so I kind of was. I don't care. Like, listen, don't be an idiot to me, because you know what I mean. Like, I'm gonna say, like, I think a lot of people get taken back now because I'm really like, I'm very like vocal about how I feel about things. And if somebody says something, I don't care who you are. I'm not just gonna be like, oh, okay. I'm be like, no, why? Like, I'm gonna challenge you because you need to be educated.
Yeah.
And I just did this with a reporter the other day. We were in a bar. I was having well, actually, I just finished watching the Wilder fight. And I was still there, and everybody was leaving. And I'm sitting there, and this guy comes with his reporter, and he started talking to me about women's boxing. And he started trying to drop knowledge on me about women's boxing. And I'm like, so I kind of like, battled him back. And I was like, before you talk about, well, I said, before you talk about a topic, you should probably do your research. And his friend like looked at me like, I'm like, I'm not being disrespectful. If you're too sensitive that I can't speak the truth to you, then don't talk to me, because I'm pretty honest.
So, but how do you feel about the sport on a whole? Have you feel like since you started, it's come a long way, or you wish there was other things like it's not as far as you want it to be? Like, what is your thoughts on?
I never got stuck in like, oh, it's women's boxing. I was like, you know what? I'm a boxer, and this is the cards I was dealt. I happen to be a female. I love being a female, and I was gonna do my job as best as I can. I never was like so focused on, oh, it's not fair. Oh, the men get this, the men get that, which I'm not saying it's right. The men, but there's a lot of men that I know that don't get what women get. So it's like, all you see is what you see. I mean, fighting on pay-per-view on the co-feature to Shane Mosley for a world title and making like a fraction of what he makes, that kind of sucked. You know what I mean? Granted, Shane Mosley in his career, he's done so much to get to that point, but I didn't even get a fraction of what he made. And that's not his fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with Shane Mosley. Yeah. Right.
It was kind of just like, that kind of sucked. I mean, it kind of did have to do with Shane because it was his promotion, but but he was trying to do something. I understood. He had a small budget, and he was trying to do something, and he gave me an opportunity because he does care. He does respect women's boxing. He always has. So when he put me on, I mean, it was great. I got to do interviews with him, and he's great. He's a great guy, and he's got a big heart. So, I appreciate that. But he didn't have the budget like Oscar De La Hoya, or Top Rank.
Well, you were a former champion, and I've interviewed other boxers, and they tell me that when you have the belt, you can kind of dictate the terms of the purse. Is that not true? Is that not how it works? Like if you have the belt and you're having a fight,
that's not women's boxing.
No,
not in women's boxing. No, because there's no money. Because the promoters aren't giving us right. So what's happening right now at women's boxing? I'll break it down for you. The Olympics, women's boxing was not introduced into the Olympics until 2013. I turned pro in 2005. I couldn't go into the Olympics because I'm a professional, me and other women. So now the promoters took the publicity that the Olympics brought these girls that wasn't available for women like me and kind of been like, okay, and put them on the stage. And we're like, well, hey, they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for us. So
why do you think that happened? Because of the fans of the Olympics in general just went to them instead of you guys?
Because of the marketing that I did all my own marketing. Like my name, I'm self-promoted. So I did all my marketing. Anything you see on Google or anything that you see about me research, that was all me and my team. I didn't have I had an agent back in the day, but it wasn't like my agent only did so much of that, a fraction of that. I did the rest of it, and what I did with my $1 Million Baby fame, you know what I mean? Like I rode that wave, and I did well with it. And then speaking 2 languages and marketing myself, I branded myself. You can't package me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm too big to be packaged. And I can say that now, but these other girls, they're packaged. You know what I mean? Which is good. But I mean, they also have the Olympics because the Olympics kind of package them. I don't have that. Maybe if I was in the Olympics, I would have been packaged. But I don't have that. So I have to kind of take what I have and push myself forward. And I'm not just speaking about me, I'm speaking about other women too. That's what we have to do because we didn't have those opportunities. But they are giving women like us an opportunity because what's happening is they don't have opponents for these girls. And then they're putting women like me in. Like there's these younger girls, so they're looking at me like I'm old, and they put me in with a girl who was 18 years younger than me, and I beat the heck out of her. And they're like, oh, she's old. It's like, no, women get better with age. They don't understand that women's boxing and men's boxing is different.
Don't they want to protect their fighters too? Like I remember watching boxing, like I remember certain fights. Like even when we talked about Holyfield or Tyson, Tyson wasn't in his prime. I feel like if Tyson was in his prime when they made, sometimes your manager's not going to want you to have that fight if it's dangerous for you and you're not going to get paid. There's also there's a business to it too, right?
I get it. With women, it's a little different. With women, we you can't look at a record and you can't look at a. It's got to make sense. You know what I mean?
But
It's got.
if I'm a manager of a girl and I'm not in the sport, I'm just using common sense.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got a young girl fighter that I'm bringing up. Why am I going to put her in a ring with you to get beat up if she's not even going to make a lot of money? I'm going to duck you, right? Is it that make sense? Because it's going
I
to
mean,
just
that's part of it, but it's also the thing is that these promoters are realizing they're running out of opponents with these girls because they're rushing them. I think they're rushing them, and they're putting them. They're fighting 6 fights, and they're fighting. Oh, I thought I said that to do not disturb. They're fighting these girls like, it's there's so much we can say, and I mean I don't know I understand the thinking and I see what they're trying to do because they're trying to bring them up. Listen, the bottom line is a good Olympian doesn't automatically make a good pro. Like an amateur fighter doesn't make a good pro. So a lot of these girls, there are the like Clarissa Shields, she's developing, she's doing better. She's a 2-time Olympian, but she's a big fish in a small pond. So, but she's developing and she's growing. So that's why I mean, where is she going to get the opponents? The pool isn't that big, especially at that weight class.
Don't you think you need big personalities? Don't you think that'll help the sport? Like look at Conor McGregor, right? I heard him saying the other day, when you fight me, you become a millionaire because his personality is so big, right? You know what I mean? Like, don't you kind of want that? Like someone to be big because then it can bring more attention to the sport, right?
Yeah.
Again, what about the pre-fight when they're
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? You're making like they hate each other and you're building up the fight, right? Is that so?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's real, obviously, right?
Well, it depends on the fight. No, some of it is real. Some of these fighters actually do hate their opponents. They're crazy. But like I don't know, like yeah, I approach it with a different. For me, I approach it a little differently. Mine is just a confidence, and my confidence is I believe more in that because you can go run your mouth and talk crap, and then when you lose, you know, oh my gosh, everybody's calling me while I'm on the phone with you. It's interesting. You know what I mean? It's that's why I didn't put the thing.
But is there like, obviously you want to make as much money as you can. You just said about the fight you were on where Mosley made the money. So is there a fight that you got to pick? Like this is the one I'll get the most money. Like I got to go fight this person, or I got. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mean, I have to see in what if it's got. I don't do it for the money. I got to do it that it makes sense for me, and the money will come.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
makes sense. Like I'm not. Listen, I know what I can do, but I'm gonna do it smart, and I'm not gonna come out. It's got to be smart. That's why I have my manager kind of monitoring everything right now. And I've been out. I had 2 fights in 3 years because I was injured. So now I'm coming back. I got to get myself back in the rankings. I'm literally reviving my career again right now. But I'm telling you right now, Vinny, I am the strongest, the smartest, and the most confident and secure I've ever been in my entire life.
That's great.
So
how was your last fight? You like it was? How'd you feel?
I mean, the girl, it was great. It was a great fight. I felt great. I mean, people couldn't believe when I told them how old I was. They were like, "What? You fight like you're 22?" And that's because I take care of my body. You know what I mean? I live a very healthy life.
Is that once you find out for the fight, or that's year round? Like I know some fighters I remember used to when they get the fight, then they go into
training. No, it's my
year
lifestyle.
Round. You're just ready to.
My friends know, like I bring my food when I go out to eat and stuff. I mean, I'll go out to eat and I'll have a drink here and there, but I literally I'm like a hermit. I'd rather be home. You know what I mean? Like I want to win so bad that I want to make sure that I take care of everything that I need to. Like my team right now, for example, my boxing coach. I'm in Florida. I have training camp here in Florida. I'll be fighting in LA next month. My boxing coach is Derek Santos. His fighter Sullivan Barrera actually is fighting in Vegas. I'll be out in Vegas for that fight. He'll be fighting on ESPN. I'll be out there for that on the Fury card, the Tyson Fury card.
Okay.
So I train with him, and then I have my strength and conditioning coach is Phil Daru. He's the head strength and conditioning coach at American Top Team. And then I have my doctor of physical therapy, Christiana Marin. I have my nutritionist, who's also my best friend, Melissa DeWeese, and I have a sports psychology coach. And then I have my manager, and then I have my investor, and then I have you know what I mean? I have a freaking slew of amazing human beings that help me and support me. But I put together that team. That was my responsibility. It's not like
Yep.
my manager was like, "Oh, I'm going to do this here, Maureen." No, I created that team. And that's why and I believe that I've created the best team because I am the best version of me that I've ever been because of the work that I've done from coming from that kid in the Bronx who was going upstate selling drugs.
So what does training for a fight look like for you? Do you turn it into high gear? Like is it like just all out? Like how many hours a day you're stepping it up? Tell me what it looks like. What it look like.
Well, here's the deal. Right now, I got to be smart because I'm older, so I have to work with my age. And Bernard Hopkins, he talks about this when he was fighting. How he's older. So for me, I mean, I'm not old, but I'm just want to be because I have so much experience now that my lessons like I work my skills work, my boxing. I box 4 times a week, and then I strength train. Well, I box 3 times a week, and I strength train 3 times a week. So and then I do my cardio. So my strength and conditioning coach, he's in charge of my strength and conditioning. So I go to American Top Team with him twice a week, and then I go up to his gym a little bit farther from here once a week, and then he'll have me do cardio, whether it's my run, sprinting, or I do the Airdyne, the assault bike, which is the bike that you do this. I hate that bike with the fan. It's freaking miserable. I would rather sprint for days than do that shit. It's miserable. But I'll tell you right now, got me in the best cardiovascular shape in 4 weeks for my last fight. So, and it takes the pressure off my knees and my joints, from running. So for me, it's like, that's what I do. But boxing and being an athlete is a 24-hour job. So my meals, like I have my meal prepping, I prep my own meals. I cook. I don't have a meal prep company. My diet coach sends me my meals and she lets me pick what I want. And then I cook, so
a lot of chicken, a lot of fish. What is it?
I eat salmon. I eat chicken. I do pasta. I do yams. I love salmon. I do swordfish. I do sea bass.
You have to keep the carbs low, or that's not really part of it.
She monitors everything, so we'll go by my weight. So I only go up so right now I'm a 122-pound fighter. So here's an example. I walk around at like 130, 132, and then I drop to 126. Most fighters go up but I don't do it on purpose. I do it because my body goes there. But my last fight was the contractual weight was 126. I weighed in at 123 because that's where my body went. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't suck. I could fight at 118. I could probably fight at 115, but I don't want to. You know what I
mean? What is the opponent? You have to be within a certain weight of each other. Like,
this was in Mexico. I fought a girl who's 170 pounds in Mexico. Mexico, there's no weight limit.
There's no rules.
Yeah, no, legit. Like BoxRec had me ranked as a cruiserweight. It was or light heavyweight. It was a little crazy. This girl weighed in. She was supposed to be the contract was 126. She weighed in at 128. She got in the ring. She was 140. Easy. I was 126 when I got in the ring. She was 140. But, maturity and experience that I have over her youth, I'll take maturity over youth any day.
That's it. Listen, I played in a basketball league, and it was the same thing. We were older than all these dudes. We had experience, and they could
emotional really control.
High. Yep, that's it.
People don't realize it. I would, if I was younger, I'd be like, man, those old people don't know what they're saying. Now I get it because we're on the other side of it.
Well, look at pro sports, right? Who wins? Brady, all. You know what I'm saying? Look at right. But why? Because he's got the most experience, right? And he keeps his body in the best.
But look at how dialed in Brady is with his diet and his mind and his life. Like that's how I am. I look at him and I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'm dialed in. I have a certain group around me. I have a very small group around me. I have a lot of people that I love and that I'm friends with and that I'm with on a daily basis. I'm usually alone.
But I gotta tell you that comes with getting older, whether you're in boxing or not.
Oh yeah.
That happens in my life. Your circle gets smaller because you're trying to you want to be around people you still love everybody, but your decisions change.
Your time is limited.
That's it.
So you know what? I have such amazing friends that my friends know that. Listen, my friends in California, they know that I had to come to Florida to set up training camp, and they're like, "We'll be here when you come back."
That's it.
I'm gonna be in LA next month, and I know they're gonna be there, and they're all gonna come out and support me but I nurture the relationships. I'm still in touch with them. Thank God for social media. In that way, I'm really grateful. I posted a photo today and shared a little bit about my past with anorexia and body dysmorphia and compulsive eating because I had food issues most of my life, and I shared this picture of me laying out because it was a long time. I know girls post pictures, and I'm all about it. Do what you do. But I'm not one. I don't usually post pictures like that, So for me to post that, there was a meaning behind it, and it was I love who I am. I love the skin I'm in, you know, because, and I'm not, it's not perfect, but for me, it's mine, and I love it.
That's
And I
awesome.
think that's a big part of me sharing my story with especially these young girls, because
I was just gonna say that's a message right now that young girls need, because with the Instagram and the pictures and the likes, it's like getting out of hand, you know. And I'm not like one of these like weird fathers. Like I understand it, but they sometimes I feel like they're so worried about likes from strangers, and like that can't be what life's
well,
about.
they can't self-validate. They
Yeah,
get the validation from that. It's like people they don't even know, they care too much. Like I don't know. That's why I'm glad that, you know, I'm a Zennial. Like I consider myself a Zennial because we're Generation X and Millennial. We're like in the middle. So I'm just like, man, I would not want to be I mean, it sucks because at least I'm glad I know what it's like to live without social media.
yes.
And
I mean,
you know,
I saw a picture the other day. My friend posted it, and it was a basketball court, and he said it was in Manhattan, and he said he used to always be packed, or was it in wherever he lived, and it's like it's empty now. Like people don't even like it. I go out sometimes, I don't see kids on the block. I'm like, what the right? You know what I mean? It's just a different world, I guess.
or they're phone zombies.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
They walk around with their phones.
Yep.
I mean, listen. I mean, and listen. The other day, I shut down. I had to shut down, and I was texting a friend. A friend of mine was texting me. I'm like, listen, I'm shutting my phone off. If I don't respond, I'm okay, but I need to shut my phone off and detach. And you know what's funny? I was laying here, and 3 times subconsciously, I turned around to grab my phone for no reason because it's a habit.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope. I was like, nope. I will not be controlled by this thing.
It's
I will
crazy.
not be.
That's crazy.
So I do that on occasion. I'll leave the house without my phone. And I'm like, listen, if I don't know where the hell I'm going, that's a problem. I got to figure it out.
Again, I think it's good. Like you said, social media is great, but I think it needs to be like in moderation, like everything in life. Like once today I was driving to school and I told my son, I was like, look, people just walk around. It's like an extension of their arm. Like in the street, they're not even paying attention to where they're walking. Like
Well, did you see that? It's like they call it the phone zombies.
Yeah.
And that's they say, like people are just walking around. People they're getting hit by cars because they're not even paying attention.
Exactly. So what's next for you? Like anything you said you got a fight coming up. You're doing a podcast.
End of July, we're finalizing the deal. It looks like it's either going to be on Showtime or it's going to be on UFC Fight Pass. So, you know, it's funny. I got to tell you that when I fought in the Golden Gloves and I lost in the Golden Gloves in the finals. There was a lot of reasons. I fought a very tough, strong girl, and but there was other reasons around my focus with $1 Million Baby that I wasn't 100% present. But I remember after I lost, and I remember all the cameras coming into the locker room, and Hillary was there, and her ex-husband Chad Lowe was there with me, and they asked me a question, and I said, you know, I quoted Oprah Winfrey, and she says, you know, I don't want. There's people that'll ride the limo with you, but it's when the limo breaks down, it's the people that ride the bus with you that count. And I felt like in that moment, that's when I said, I was like, I'm on the bus right now. I've had a bus, I've had a limo, I've had a bus, I've had a freaking hoopty, I've been on a bike. You know what I mean? Like my career has been like this. And I feel like right now I have a bus, and I mean, I'm going to be in the limo again, you know? And I appreciate the support that I have of everybody around me now that still believes in me, that has been with me throughout my entire career, and that know me and know my soul, because when I say I'm going to do something, I do it, no matter what it is. So now we have July, the end of July, and it'll either be Showtime or UFC Fight Pass. And I'm excited because I worked for it, you know, and I'll get that bigger fight. I'll get the world title fights. On my refrigerator right now, it says Unify, WBA, WBC, and IBF, and WBO. I have it written on, and it says you were built for this. It's on my refrigerator. I wrote it down on, I have like one of those magnetic things, and it says you were built for this, and it says Unify. I visualize my goals every day. That's my goal every day.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, it's gonna happen, you know. But I gotta be patient, and I can't worry when people are like, when, what? Like I used to get anxiety when people would ask me, when are you fighting again? When? And I didn't know. I'm like, I feel like I need to know, but I'm like, no. I say, ask God, because only He knows. He's literally the driver of my bus and my limo. So I'm just
listen.
like,
I heard something today about patience and nurturing, and I kind of know this already, but there's a Chinese bamboo tree, it's called, and you water it, and for 5 years it doesn't come up out of the ground. So you have to water something for 5 years. Then on the 5th year it comes out, and in 5 weeks it grows 90 feet. So
wow,
is that amazing? So think about the 5 years you're nurturing it, and someone's looking at you like, what are you doing? But if you don't, so did the tree grow in 5 weeks or in 5 years or 5 weeks? Because you had to do all that to get the results, and that's
right.
what it
I
is.
love that.
It's
That's
the
true.
process, you know. And if you love the process, Nothing's coming quick. Anything coming quick don't matter. Like it matters the journey, right? You're enjoying.
Last. Yeah.
That's it. That's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So I'll ride the bus with you. How about I'll ride the limo?
Thank you.
What you want to do? I got you. So, but
it's not the short bus, okay? So don't worry.
So I appreciate you coming and you're an inspiration and your positivity is amazing. And I gotta ask you 3 questions before you go. I gotta ask you your favorite rapper, your favorite NBA player, and your favorite rap song, because that's what I do. So you can start with NBA player, then we'll do rapper, and it could be a song or an album. So who's your favorite NBA player?
I don't know. Now that you tell me this, I'm just like, oh my God, I just froze right now.
It's all good. It's all good.
Tell me. No, I know.
You're from the Bronx.
Because I froze because of it. Well, he's on the Warriors.
I don't have to be now, too. It could be back in the day. Oh, the game's on tonight, by the way. So you're going for the Warriors, obviously, right?
No. That's my dude right there.
All right.
Rapper's Nas.
Nas, beautiful.
And I have to say my favorite song is Affirmative Action.
Love it. I love both of them. Nas is the man. Actually, my friend called me today. He's like, do you know Nas makes more money than Jay-Z? He's like, he's involved in a lot of like businesses, and he's low key. You know what I mean?
Smart. Yes. Very smart.
Yes. The song.
Listen to his lyrics.
Yes.
But you knew he was going to be that because he's different than everybody else.
Since Illmatic when it first came out.
That's it. Yes. That's it. Exactly. See, I know my stuff. I better. I'm from the Bronx. I better.
So always a pleasure, and we definitely got to hook up when you come to the Bronx, and I'll have you on again anytime.
For sure. Sounds good. Thank you.
Care.
Bye, Edie. Bye.